The 1970s witnessed all the density of hard bop colliding into the electrified realm of jazz funk. And one of the most prolific and energetic of those performers was saxophonist Sonny Fortune. And from his 1976 album Wave of Dreams, the track Seeing Beyond the Obvious. Okay, we already have like a very energetic sax solo going over a persistent ostinato. On this track, Sonny plays soprano sax, tambourine, shaker, and handclaps is how he's credited. Percussion by Angel Allende, and bass by Buster Williams, who also was quite prolific on other people's recordings during this period, and did a few records of his own during the era. Let's see, that's 6/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see, and we're also hearing some pianos colliding a bit in there. Let's see. Michael Cochrane. What? Not too familiar with that particular name, but let's see. He's on this album. He's on the Hannibal album from the prior year, the Sunrise Orchestra Hannibal. I know that one. Oh yeah, Hannibal, Marvin Peterson. Yeah, Children of the Fire. Those albums. Very close to Hannibal, Marvin Peterson. I guess this is the only Sonny Fortune album that he plays on. I wonder what different people might latch onto from this recording. Like people who come maybe perhaps from more of a rock or funk background might first and foremost be latching onto the bass ostinato played by Buster Williams because it's structured throughout, but people with more of a jazz orientation might be first and foremost focusing on Sonny's sax playing, because it's looser, it's fluid. I like both, but I have to say that they're both really competing quite heavily here. Now we're hearing a bit of trumpet from Charles Sullivan. Yeah, he did some good stuff during the period. The 1974 album Genesis, and the 1976 follow-up Re-Entry, and had quite a bit of credits going back to the mid-1960s on albums by like King Curtis, Teruo Nakamura, a Japanese jazzer on Three Blind Mice, on one of the Dollar Brand records, on Carlos Garnett's Black Love album, Bernie Maupin's The Jewel and the Lotus. Yeah, prolific guy. A lot of stellar credits there. drums are getting quite active, quite a bit more pronounced, really guiding things along, bombarding the rhythmic element to this. Courtesy of Chipper Lyles, or Chip Lyle as he's listed on these credits. Had played on a few Weldon Irving albums, Liberated Brother and Cosmic Vortex, and also played on two other Sonny Fortune records. The two right before this, Long Before Our Mothers Cried and Awakening. But not a whole lot of credits according to Discogs beyond those titles. I almost think of those as like squiggly lines, that trumpets. Like he was playing like a spiral, and then he was like playing like a squiggly line, or almost like he was charming a snake or something. There's definitely a melody right there that you can, the defining theme, that sax riff we heard earlier in the song played by Sonny. It's interesting how, like, Sonny is the one who's being a bit more melodic, playing like a hummable riff there, and Charles Sullivan is kind of like the more the expressionistic soloist in this piece. Now they're colliding. Notice how they're shifting key sounds, they're modulating, taking a theme and like it had mostly been da da na 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 na, like it mostly been like an E, and then they start to like move it around, but holding on to that riff, that sax riff that guides along. This is like listed as among the styles that this album is listed as. Like I primarily think of it as hard bop, like modern jazz from like the 1950s onward, but like kind of like in the tradition of Blue Note. The term modal sometimes gets attached to these releases that use a lot of modulation, and it does kind of make me think of some of the tracks off the one album that's pretty much the the most well-known modal release ever, A Kind of Blue, which has those tracks on it, like dun dun, that take a sax riff and then modulate it dun 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 dun, like that. amazing how dense it gets towards the end. It's like all the ideas from earlier in the track just kind of coming together and just overlaying. And we're almost the end here, and there hasn't been a dropout for a bass, a stand-up solo. Yeah, Sonny Fortune tends to keep it pretty dense, pretty energetic, busy. I guess it's not really in his style to leave a dropout for the double bassist in the band. So there you had it. Seeing Beyond the Obvious, the opening track off the third album by Sonny Fortune, the 1976 release, Waves of Dreams on Horizon label, with, let's see, Sonny Fortune on soprano saxophone primarily, trumpet by Charles Sullivan, piano by Michael Cochrane, drums by Chip Lyle, and bass by Buster Williams, who had been very prolific during this period. Yeah, his 1975 album Pinnacle and the 1976 release Crystal Reflection on Muse Records are titles that show up from time to time in like the Rare Groove community. And a lot of credits on other people's albums up through like the next decade. Releases by Kenny Barron. Was on a, let's see, Music for Violin and Jazz Quartet. Mixed artist release. That one, a title with Michael Urbaniak that I haven't even gotten around to working through. Yeah, so a veritable cast of hard bop, modal jazz players. Sonny was one of the most, you could say, inspired band leaders of the 1970s playing the more traditional, like, blue note style jazz. Whereas a lot of people, a lot of his ilk had already moved into the electrified jazz funk. He ultimately would towards the end of the decade. This album was the first of his, I believe, to feature any electric piano on it, and therefore it just made the cut in my jazz funk album directory. I included, of the 6 albums he did during the 70s, I included this one onward. So see this for Rubies and Sapphires from this album and the ones that follow in his catalog. See the directory of albums by American jazz funk artists in the links below. And like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled trimaximalist, signing off.